Hi, and welcome to my channel, Vegan Pregnancy and Parenting. This is my first vlog, and I am going to share my experiences throughout my vegan pregnancy and parenting, and hopefully you guys will join along with me and in this new adventure. So today's vlog is all about books that I have read. Before I started trying to conceive and in my early pregnancy, which is still now, I'm only 9.5 weeks pregnant, and how they've helped me and what I agreed with, what I disagreed with, and hopefully it will give you guys some ideas on what to read if you are embarking on your first vegan or even second vegan, third vegan pregnancy. So the first book that I found really helpful was the Everything Vegan Pregnancy book. And it really is everything. It goes into detail about all the nutrients you need, your plant-based sources for them, what you must supplement for because there are no plant-based sources. And that being said, most meat eaters and dairy eaters will have to supplement as well. So don't feel like, oh, I'm missing out on something, that's why I'm supplementing. Everyone has to supplement during pregnancy. And it talks about, labor and postpartum and a lot of questions that you'll get and how to respond and how to keep your composure. I think anyone who's been pregnant knows that, you're going to get a lot of input. People are going to think, that they're doctors and nutritionists, and even your own doctor might not support a vegan pregnancy, but you have to remember that doctors aren't nutritionists. They don't have expert knowledge on nutrition, and so don't feel like overwhelmed if your doctor says, oh, you need meat, you need dairy. They really aren't educated to give you that sort of advice. So they can prescribe you medicine and, all that jazz, but they can't really tell you what your body needs. And this book was really, really helpful for me to prepare me for those questions that I was asked. An example of something you can learn in this book, it divides up into trimesters also, and it says, okay, what's going on in your body this trimester, what changes are you going to be experiencing, what you might feel like during this trimester, things that will be going on at the doctor, when you should call the doctor, if you're having extreme abdominal cramping, or if you have a severe headache or a fever over a certain amount of degrees. So it really is helpful, and it talks about the heartbeat of the baby and anxiety and stress management. Like, it gets into more than just veganism and plant-based nutrition and pregnancy. So this is a great book. Really recommend it. The next book that I found really helpful was The Kind Mama by Alicia Silverstone. Alicia is actually not vegan. She pretends she's vegan, but she's not. She eats dairy, and but she has some great advice in here on veganism and pregnancy, some great recipes that are all plant-based, some great products that are cruelty-free and eco-friendly. She talks about, some things that a lot of the pregnancy books kind of gloss over, like postpartum status of your nether region, which, isn't going to be looking too pretty. And she talks about homemade creams you can make and sprays, and, how to handle people who are going to tell you you need meat, you need dairy. Talks about attachment parenting, talks about breastfeeding and foods to avoid while nursing and all this, and labor, and, just basically everything. There is a lot about this book. It was a very controversial book when it came out, and for very good reasons. She's not a doctor. She's not a nutritionist. The authors of Vegan Pregnancy, they're doctors and nutritionists. She's just a woman sharing her experience. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt. Don't, if you read something in there, don't go, okay, well, I can't do that now. Like, do your own research. She is anti-vaccination. Vaccinations aren't vegan. They do contain animal products, and a lot of vegans are anti-vaccination. Personally, I am not anti-vax. It's upsetting to me that they do have animal products in them, but it's one of those things that is unavoidable in a lot of ways. So I, definitely didn't agree with that chapter. Her evidence was unscientific and it was completely anecdotal. And yes, I do believe people's personal experiences have, merit, and but you have to be really careful with this book and take it with a grain of salt. This next book is not really vegan related. The author does recommend a vegetarian pregnancy, but it's more about childbirth. So this is Ina May's Guide to Childbirth. Ina May is a very famous midwife. She has been doing it, I don't know how long, like 40, 50 years, and really has a lot of experience. And the first half of the book is women talking about their all-natural pregnancies, which means no medical intervention, no drugs, no painkillers, and really, beautiful, beautiful stories that kind of make you look at birth a different way, like we see labor in movies and we hear labor stories, and they're kind of like, I was genuinely afraid of labor, and this book kind of taught me that you don't have to be afraid of labor, that it can be a beautiful and enjoyable thing. And it really got me kind of excited for labor because when you're not focused on fear, you're focused on what's the outcome of this experience. It is labor, it is a hard thing to do, but it is temporary. And really, this book, I think, is just magical, and it gives you a lot of information about how our bodies work. So a lot of people don't know that our jaw and our mouth are very connected to our cervix. So, when you're in labor, and you're doing certain breathing, if you're and you're tightening your jaw, first of all, you're going to increase your heart rate and the baby's heart rate because you're taking short breaths. But if you're taking deep breaths and you're loosening your jaw, and it doesn't have to look normal. You don't have to look pretty doing it. You might be going whatever it is to keep your jaw loose is going to help loosen your cervix. And another really interesting thing is how connected our nipples are to the chemicals in our body. So one thing she talks about is pumping during labor, milk pumping, or even just stimulating the nipples. And by doing so, you can release Oxycontin, which is a natural pain inhibitor. So you can turn your rushes or your contractions into a less painful experience with natural body chemicals. Because our body creates Oxycontin. Actually, our milk contains these chemicals, and that's one of the reasons why babies are so into our milk, is because it has natural morphines and Oxycontins in them that relax them. And that's why babies get all like after they drink milk, is because they're drunk on all the goodness that's in there. So she also wrote Guide to Breastfeeding, and obviously you can wait until you're closer to the end of your pregnancy before you read this one. But also, a really beautiful book. I think in a lot of cases, women feel pressured to give formula to their babies because early on in their postpartum, you're not creating much milk. And so your baby's probably going to lose a little weight, and people are going to be freaking out and telling you, oh, you need formula, but it's all quite natural. And she goes into how kind of breastfeeding has changed in history from, you know, a good thing to a bad thing to a good thing again, and it talks a lot about that. And I think this is a great book too, for new moms. So the last book, just let me get a swig of juice. This juice is from Fresh Restaurants. What does it have in it? It has spinach, parsley, celery, romaine lettuce, dandelion greens, cucumber, lemon, and ginger. So many healthy things in just one little juice. Okay, so the last book, also kind of more towards the end of your pregnancy, but I do recommend reading it while pregnant because then you can prepare your house with all the different remedies. It's called Natural Baby and Childcare. This book has basically anything that can arise with a newborn or baby and how it can be handled naturally. And it's similar to Ina May's philosophy where, you know, in modern medicine, you know, we're constantly being told that the quick fix, you know, like just get the drugs and, you know, don't feel anything sort of thing is the best thing. Whereas a lot of things that happen when you're sick or when your child is sick, are our body's natural way of dealing with this illness or this virus or this bacteria. And by suppressing the body's natural reaction, we're actually slowing down the healing process. So a great example, for instance, is a fever. Our body heats up when we're sick and we'll get a fever. And our first reaction is get rid of the fever, bring the fever down. But the truth is that the fever is serving a purpose, and it is heating up your body to make it an uninhabitable place for those viruses. So this book, you know, talks all about the benefits of natural medicine, and the funny thing is that breast milk is actually one of the best things for viruses, and it has a natural antibacterial property in it. So, you know, if you have a sinus infection, if your baby has a sinus infection or an ear infection kind of popping up, you know, putting a little breast milk in there will work. And actually for diaper rash and blemishes, a lot of babies get blemishes, just some breast milk can go a long way. So, and it also talks about breastfeeding and different bathing products and clothing that is all natural, and talks about sleep and vaccinations and alternate vaccination schedules, because, you know, a lot of people who are pro-vaccination still agree that we're giving too many vaccinations in one doctor's visit. So you can say to your doctor, I want to spread out these vaccinations to more visits and so on and so forth. And some vaccinations are, you know, totally reasonable and necessary, whereas others you might say to yourself, okay, well, why does my baby need this vaccination? And, you know, what is the likelihood of them catching whatever it is if they don't get the vaccination and so forth. So those are the books, and I'll kind of just hold them up again quickly. So Everything Vegan Pregnancy book, Ina May's Guide to Childbirth, her Guide to Breastfeeding, The Kind Mama, and Natural Baby and Childcare. And with all the books, you know, do your own research. Don't just read one book or, you know, have one person tell you one thing and then take it and go, okay, that must be the truth. Even if it's your doctor or your midwife or your OBGYN, go home, do your own research, find some peer-reviewed studies and, really figure it out for yourself too. I'm not saying that that you should ignore certain advice, but you should definitely inform yourself before you choose to either accept or ignore advice. And especially when it comes to labor and delivery, educate yourself on labor so that when you're in that experience and your OBGYN says, okay, this has happened, now you need a C-section, you can say, well, actually, I know for a fact that there have been numerous natural births that have occurred with this instance, and I would like to move forward. Like a lot of times, they're just trying to kind of get you in and out, and really educate yourself on what's happening to your body, because everyone's going to be giving you different advice. Everyone's going to be telling you, oh, don't eat this, you can have a little bit of that, no, you can't have any of that. And there's no only the right way or wrong way, even if I do believe, obviously, that it's wrong to feed yourself cruelty products, or to use products tested on animals or anything. I believe that's wrong, and it is. But the truth is that, if I say, oh, well, don't use this oil, like, who am I, or who's your doctor to say, oh, no, you can't drink that tea, or, oh, no, like one of the things that they say you can't eat or drink is juices, like pressed juices. They say you should only drink pasteurized juice, like store-bought juice. Like, I think that's ridiculous. I did a ton of research. If I can eat fruit, then I can eat fruit juice. Like, it's idiotic if you ask me. But a lot of people are like, oh, I can't have fresh juice, and so they don't drink fresh juice, and they're drinking all these store-bought juices that are from concentrate and have a ton of added sugar, and it's no good. So definitely, do your research and use your common sense, and hopefully these books are as helpful for you as they were for me. And I hope you guys stick around, and I'll continue sharing different information and my experience with my vegan pregnancy. Have a great day.